Well, it's Red Ranger Day. So we pulled the Red Ranger in. And right now we started disconnecting this, so we'll take that off. Got to drain the radiator. I don't know if I showed you guys, but this radiator cap, awful nasty. So now I'm kind of suspecting this thing may have overheated to the point of dying instead of the oil pump dying. But either way, it's going to be a fun engine pull. So here we go, got the Red Rangers on jack stands. The drive shaft is out. Transmission fluid's drained as much as I could. About ready to pull the radiator and the fan shroud out. And then hopefully we can get the fan off of the fan and the pulley assembly off of the water pump. Get that off, get that out of the way. Because I'm going to need as much room as possible to slide this engine forward because the torque converter is going to be stuck to the end of it. So I'm going to leave all the wiring attached that I can, and all that's going to have to get shifted over to this motor because we did pull this out and it wasn't too bad. Alright, the radiator's out, and for the water pump, this is a good one. There's 4 bolts on the pulley, like tucked inside here. So what I use is my snap-on flex ratchet with a 10mm short socket on it to get in there. And you hold it with a 22mm wrench. And once you get all 4 bolts out, the pulley will slide forward. And then you put a bolt back in, wedge a screwdriver in there, and then you can use your 22mm wrench to loosen up, take the clutch fan assembly off of the water pump. It's important to notice, or to note, that the clutch assembly is reverse threaded onto the water pump. So you got to go like you're tightening it to loosen it. Well, one thing about me is I will show you the good with the bad, and if you look down there, all we did was break the front part of the water pump, which I guess is fine because we're not using it. However, I really want to get this clutch fan assembly off. Well, I got it, and the way I found to do it, for me anyway, was stick screwdriver in here, right in that slot, and I wedged it underneath the pulley, and then I just went ahead and reefed on it, and it actually came out. So I'm happy about that. I have to get the motor out today. I don't have a choice. It's really warm out, and I need to take advantage of the opportunity. So one thing I do really want to do is this grill. You can see the front label's all destroyed and the paint's not very good in the grill. So while it's nice out, I really want to take the grill out and paint it. However, priorities have to be set. So this motor has to come out. And I lied about the connector with the 3-pin versus the 2-pin. Okay, on this motor here, it's actually the connector way in the back. Here's the newer motor, and you can't see it because this light's so bright. But there's the 2-pin, and if you come over to the Red Ranger, if you look in the back down there, that's the 3-pin. So that's the one that's got to come out and get swapped over. Not a big deal. We'll just swap the whole wire harness. I couldn't get the exhaust off, or I couldn't get it out from under the truck, so it's just kind of hanging there. Power steering pump's off. Looks like I gotta take a ground off still down there. And one thing that's being a pain, and it was in the last truck too, but I just cut it, are the fuel injection fittings. I've got the little plastic things, but for some reason it's not loosening the clamp, so we still gotta mess around with that. And I think I'm going to take the intake off. It has to go on the other one anyway, but I think I'm going to take it off and use the intake bolts to pull the motor out. Unfortunately, with the motor being seized, I can't separate the transmission from the motor, so I got to pull them both out at once. And I don't know if I'll have room to do it. Even if I tilt it far enough, or even if I tilt it back, I don't know if it's going to be far enough. Well, it's a little bit later. I got the fuel lines off. I took the intake off, put some bolts in there. And then I believe I'm ready to start lifting this thing up and seeing what I can do. Hopefully it comes out. We'll see. It is off the mounts. Looks like I've got about, I don't know, probably a good 6 inches to pull forward. Hopefully I can tilt it back far enough to get up over. I really don't want to pull the AC condenser out if I can help it, but you know, we'll see as she goes. Well, here it is on the floor. The dead 3 liter. So what we need to do is take the wire harness off, take that sensor out right there. I don't know if you can see it, it's underneath there, but you need to take that one out. There, this one right here. You need to take that sensor out. Unbolt the transmission and put the engine back up in the air, take the oil pan off, and see if we can't either unbolt the crank or something so we can get this torque converter off. Got the Ranger motor ready to go up on the stand, and when I took the intake off, I noticed that the bolts holding it on were only a 8mm head instead of a 10mm, and sure enough, the bolt holes are too small, so I cannot use this lower intake. I've got to take the lower intake off the other motor, which normally wouldn't be bad, but I just ordered a bunch of parts and I only ordered the upper intake gasket. I didn't get the whole set because I was going to use this intake. Now that I'm not going to use it, I get to order more parts. Just fantastic. One other thing is the EGR in this is in a different spot. So I don't know if I can just undo this bolt or this nut right here, take the pipe off. Actually, let's go check it out. Left side header. Oh, see, it's different. This has got this weird setup on it. So we are going to have to use this manifold, which, as you can see, I broke one bolt off. And hopefully I can get that bolt out, which I couldn't do with it in the vehicle. So we definitely got our work cut out for us. We also have to swap motor mounts over because these are different. So we're getting the motor torn down. Few things that are, one surprising and a few are, yeah, whatever. First off, broke a bolt in a water pump housing. So it's either try to get that out, which I'm going to do, or take the water pump housing off the other one, which involves taking all this stuff off the crank. So I don't really want to do that if I can help it. But we'll see. Next, this valve cover, nope, wrong one. This valve cover's got these 3 bosses on it where the coil pack's at. Of course, the other ones are different, so gonna have to change valve covers over. Not so much a big deal. Motor mounts gotta get changed. I was looking at the spark plugs, and they're all Bosch except for this one here. I guess they couldn't get to it. That's a Champion, so I've got all new plugs ordered, so not a big deal. Just kind of a curiosity thing. And then I was looking down here, and I don't know if you can see it. Fel-Pro head gaskets and new freeze plugs in the heads. So I'm guessing that at one point this thing had either a head gasket replaced or different heads put on, which is okay. And then lastly, cannot get the intake off without taking the valve covers off, so good thing we have to take that off anyway. But kind of a pain, and we still need to change that over. But overall, it's coming along. I did get this exhaust manifold off. That's the one with the different EGR. And this one here, I think I'm going to leave on. I'm going to try to hit these studs with a torch to see if I can get them out of the manifold. Don't need that pipe at all, but it would be nice if I only have to replace one set of studs, but it'll probably be both. I know what you're thinking. Anytime you break out the tap and die set, it's going to be a bad day. Well, let's go take a look and see what we're dealing with. So on the left side of the motor, you can see these two holes and this hole right here. That's where the old motor mount bolted up. The new motor mount uses this one over here, and this one over here. And those holes are so rusty that we're going to run a tap in there just to make sure we got good threads, and then we'll go ahead and bolt the motor mount up. I got the timing cover all cleaned up, ready for the water pump. The water pump actually came in today, which, this is kind of something else for me. 2 days before Christmas, and I'm getting parts left and right. So I'm going to take the old water pump and use those bolts so I know what bolts go where, and let's start bolting this thing up. So I hope you enjoyed part 2 of the 97 Ford Ranger engine swap. The donor truck was actually an 01. I thought it was an 03. There's quite a few differences between the two, mainly the cam synchronizer, which is what failed in the 97. The gear on the cam synchronizer mates with the cam, and as the cam spins, the synchronizer spins, which drives your oil pump. Well, the shaft on the cam synchronizer had frozen. The cam chewed the teeth on the synchronizer, so it couldn't spin anymore. The truck lost oil pressure, and that's what killed the 3-liter engine. If you liked the video so far, like, share, subscribe. There's going to be a part 3 and probably a part 4 when we finish it up. And I will talk to you next time.